Welcome everybody to Relationship Fun and Games and Fights Clean Sex Dirty TV. We are in season 5, the season of peace.
Yes, thanks so much for joining us tonight. We know life is busy, but eventually if you don't find time to invest in creating peace in your relationship, it's going to find time to have time for an argument with you. So better to get proactive. And of course, as we like to focus on here, even a bit playful. And we're going to do that tonight with our special guests. We're really happy to have them back. A year or so ago in season 1, Sasha was able to join us and we had a calendar mix up. And so we didn't get the two of them. So we wanted to have them back now in season 5 and get there's nothing like seeing a couple together. Sasha is brilliant and amazing, as you will soon see, but it's that dynamic of being with a couple together that makes such a difference and why we like to interview couples on the show. So thanks so much, Scott and Sasha, for joining us. Really appreciate you being here today.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us.
So I want to just do a little bit of a brief intro on your background, but then I'd love it if you'd share with our audience today, a little bit about yourself as a couple, whether that be how you met or a hurdle that you've overcome, or even a motto that you guys live by, just anything that gives us a flavor. We're going to get to your great tips on the topic tonight of how to keep the fights clean as it starts. And we have a tip for the audience as well. But before we get to that, we wanted just to give everybody a little scratch and sniff flavor of this couple that Scott and Sasha is. So let me first go through that bio. Raju, you change the screen so I can give them a sense. Here you can see Scott and Sasha. Is this in your new kitchen or your old kitchen? I know we just got to see your new place. This must be your old place there.
Are you talking about right now?
Oh no, the picture. Oh no, I meant the picture on your bio page here. We've got.
I think I was at some family get together for a holiday a couple last year or 2 years ago. So.
Yeah.
Well, we loved being in your home last month, in your new home, and seeing you nest. Especially just, such a important time, a new chapter for a couple. So congratulations on that in your new home.
Thank you.
And just to give you a bit of background on Sasha, I know her as a feminine empowerment expert, but she's really been refining over the last few years that, empowerment is really about leadership. So I just love, Sasha, that you've been shifting that language to leadership, because when a woman is empowered, she is showing leadership. Sasha does that by writing and speaking. She is such a sassy, fun speaker. I love seeing her talks. And it's really courageous what she's done. There's a lot of people out there more and more doing this, that living a life of purpose and passion is much more important than stability. And so she went out on her own, left a very safe, awesome job that she had, acknowledging her talents and really looking for something else, something that she can help these other kick-ass women like herself when they know that they're up for something bigger and going farther than they ever have before. She's done it herself, and now she has, for the last 7 years, in coaching and doing seminars, she's been helping other women do the same. So they're transforming themselves, their lives, their work, their frame of mind, and of course, their level of confidence. Bravo, Sasha.
And Scott, so glad to have you here. As Gabby mentioned, we didn't get you on our round last season, and so grateful to have you here today. And Scott is a men's relationship coach and speaker with over 8 years experience internationally. And if you get the chance to work with Scott, jump at it. He is a master of distinctions that help you navigate all the issues as a man in relationship. And as you see in the bullet point here, he facilitates connection in relationship by teaching men how to communicate in a way that's true, honest, and understood by their partner. 3 of those things that are one of the most impossible things to do as a man. And he is
Sasha's like a mess, though, in short order.
Yeah, and he's brilliant at that. So can't wait to hear some of the tips that Scott and Sasha have to share with the audience tonight.
And at the end, we're also going to give you some links that we'll have listed here, and we'll also put them in the comments. So if you're watching the replay, you can also look in the comments here and click on those and find out more about Scott and Sasha and all they have to offer the men and the women out there. I love that the two of you work with Scott, with you with the men, and Sasha, you with the women. And I'm really excited to have you here now as a couple. And speaking to couples, we have largely women on the show, but interestingly enough, a lot of men, and not just men in relationships, but single men getting ready for their next relationship, a group which we never expected to have in this group. Just a bit about Scott and Sasha as a couple. They have been together for 7 years, lucky number 7 there, and they've been married for 3, and we were delighted to be at their wedding up in Toronto, Canada. And, Scott and Sasha, as I said before, let's just give the audience a flavor of, either your story or your hurdles or any mantra or motto that helps you to stay the awesome couple that you are.
Sure. Well, why don't we tell them a little bit about the wedding?
Sure.
Yeah, I think that's probably good. So, we might as well dive right into it. So essentially, Sasha and I were engaged for 2 years. So 2 out of the 7 years that we were together, we decided to be engaged, just because a lot of couples don't really take the time to, enjoy being engaged. That's like a phase of a relationship, just like marriage and dating is, and being committed. So, we took our time with that. Essentially, it didn't really, things didn't really, I'll just say, go bad until probably about, 3 months before the wedding or so. And at that point in time, Sasha's family came to Sasha with a whole bunch of concerns about, us getting married. They didn't think I was the right person for her. They didn't think I could provide for her. A lot of just conflict that was there. And, the short order of it is, I took it as like okay, this is kind of like the challenge that I have to overcome, to marry this woman, because, we're supposed to be together, and that's the way this is going to go. And, Sasha originally thought, well, you know what, if they can't get on board, screw them. Let's just not have them attend the wedding. And I kind of
not really good for the long term, and you're like, oh, screw the in-laws. You're like, oh, this is not starting off well.
Yeah, it was one of those things where I said, hey, you know what, like, listen, I'm marrying you, but at the same time, I'm also marrying your family. We, this is something that we can't just, say screw you two. We have to get them on board. And so, through that conversation with Sasha, I literally sat down with every member of Sasha's family and heard their concerns, and essentially talked to them, not necessarily to convince them why I was the one, because that wasn't really my intention, but just to let them know that I heard their concerns, and that's okay. Like, we're still going to get married.
And that you wanted them to be a part of it.
And that I wanted them to be a part of it. Exactly. That was
good for you, Scott, for not having that knee-jerk reaction of, and even when your beloved is like, well, fine, forget them, and you're like, no, wait a second. I'm sure that was also, delicate, with, a person's hurt feelings, in a sense of ego, and you want people to be happy. I can relate. Like, we didn't have people supportive of us getting married when we got married either.
Right.
Even my dad saying, hey, we can go out the side door. You don't have to do this. So we can relate. And Sasha, how was that for you? How did you guys get through that? And what did it mean for your relationship moving forward, despite the resistance in your family?
What it meant for me is kind of what I've taken on as a context for a relationship at large, which is like, we're really into personal development and transformational workshops and courses. And there is nothing more transformational than having to try to get married to somebody and everyone else that you love is saying no, and having to go through that. And a part of me feels, just from that experience alone, we went through that, that ring of fire, that war, and came out, yes, with some bruises and some hurt and pain and scars, but those have healed and we've become stronger for it. And so our relationship was born in sort of like war-torn energy, but I trust it more. It seems more trustable to love, because we've faced the fire and we've always come out together. And that to me counts for something. I hear a lot of relationships where they're like, we don't fight. And something about that, I'm like, I think I think you need a few battles to go, we've tested the relationship and we still choose us.
Totally.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
We've tested the relationship and we still choose us. That's great.
Battle tested.
Yeah, battle tested.
Sometimes you gotta walk through the fire.
Yeah.
And thanks for sharing that story as like the intro and having people get a sense of you, because it is this declaration of even if it's not clear to others, we're really clear. We've looked at this. We've even looked at your concerns, and thank you for the love and concern. But there's such a choice and a declaration happening when you get married anyways, but you guys had that extra exclamation point of, we choose us, we choose us. So thanks for choosing us and being here tonight too. So we want to give people a chance to hear all of the great tips that you have for now that you are married. What do you do to avoid an argument just as it's brewing? So let's go ahead and share how we do some of the content.
One of the things that Gaby and I really pride ourselves on is making our content applicable so that you can use it when you need it most, not like, oh, I'm going to go read a book for the weekend and then try to apply it to my relationship. Because when you need it most, it needs to be simple, it needs to be applicable. And so one of the things that we've done is we've broken our content into two major categories: how to keep the fights clean and the sex dirty. We actually got that advice on our wedding day when we were asking people, hey, what's your advice for us as a married couple going into this? And one couple said that, just keep the fights clean and the sex dirty.
That's all you need to know, when to wear the halo and when to wear the horns. And so, but it's not just those two categories, it's also when do you apply it. What you're going to do in the heat of an argument is not what you're going to do well before one starts, or even as we're talking about tonight, when one starts brewing, which brings us to tonight's topic, which is, yep, I did that, which is how to keep the fights clean as it starts. And what's really important about the fights clean is if you're keeping the fights clean, the sex dirty kind of takes care of itself. It's usually that people are draining all of their energy with their fighting and they don't have any energy left for sex. And so if you can bring some of this attention to avoiding the arguments and intimacy, creating connection and intimacy spills into getting it on and getting sexy. So this is a really great place to start, is keeping these arguments from spilling over.
Yeah, we were talking about this with a friend of ours who's also a relationship expert a few weeks ago, and he was saying that it's a myth. The whole make-up sex thing is actually a myth. It actually imprints the negative emotional state deeper because you're in such a deep vulnerable state when you're making love. And so the real trick is, as Gaby mentioned, to keep the fights clean and have that translate into then having the sex be quote unquote dirty.
Makes sense to
so
me.
Just a little bit about the show today. Around 6:10 or 9:10 for those of you on East Coast, we're going to be making the Join the Hangout button live, which you'll see under the video window and on the web page. And if you click on that, you can join in the Hangout with us, and up to you if you want to share your video or not. And you can also throw in questions into the chat window if you don't want to jump into the Google Hangout. Our goal here is to be interactive with you, get your questions answered. And if you do jump on live in the Hangout with us, you'll get our free cheat sheet of how to keep the fights clean and sex dirty. We'll email that to you, and you'll have that as a reference.
Yep, those are 16 of our top tips that are summarized just into one sentence, so you can have that as an easy frame of reference. Just pull it out. Oh, this is what I can do to apply this now.
Great, and so we'll let you know when that button goes live, and we'll ask you to refresh your browser window so that you can jump right in there.
Okay, so if you're really interested in this particular topic, what to do just as an argument is starting, we just wanted to quickly point out that we have some previous resources, their blogs, their previous episodes of the show. There are quick tip video clips. And so if you go to our website, relationshipfunandgames.com, whoops, go back one, Raj, you did that a little too fast. Thank you. If you go to our website, relationshipfunandgames.com, and just look for this logo, or you can type in as it starts or fights clean or any of those into the search box, because there's lots and lots of different tips and resources. We don't have enough time to go through them all tonight, but we're going to give you one of our tips here tonight. And Scott and Sasha, I think they've got 5 or 6 juicy ones, so we want to save the majority of our time. But first, let's give you one tip from Relationship Fun and Games on how to keep the fights clean as it starts.
Okay, so this is one of our favorite and super, super effective tools called Do You Need Some Loving?
Yeah, we only created this about a year ago, and I wish we had had it long before, because this is such a common thing. You know, someone's having a tough day, you know, maybe your computer crashed, or you just haven't eaten, you've been so busy and you're hangry, or maybe if you've got kids, you know, they've had some challenge during the day, or a mini meltdown that's causing a mini meltdown for you, or maybe even a major meltdown. And then often what you do is you take it out on your beloved. You just kind of snap at them for some little thing that they did or even didn't do. And often what will happen is then they get mad at you going, oh, you shouldn't take it out on me and get off my back. And what's your problem? And that usually doesn't go so well. That's a little bit like adding, you know, fuel to the fire, so to speak. But if you instead can shift gears, it can make a huge difference. So let's go ahead and give you a bit of detail on this tip. This link here, and Sarah, our moderator, if you'd go ahead and copy that, put it in the chat there. That is for this tip in like a 3 to 5 minute video. So if you want to hold on to that, even put it as bookmarked on your phone or something, you can open that and get this tip, reminder of that when you need it the most.
Okay, so let's move into the tip. So as you can see here, we actually have this written on our refrigerator. That's what that image is over on the right. Beneath probably a voter registration ballot or something. And so we often put things on our refrigerator just to remind ourselves of these tools, because they'll go in one ear and out the other, especially in the heat of the moment. And until it becomes a new habit or a new normal, as we like to call it, you want to have these visual cues.
Yeah, because you need these cues because people are people. We're human. Life has challenges. People get cranky, hangry, and negative. And then they start to take it out on those that are closest to them. And then we react and retaliate. As I said before, what's your problem? Don't take your stress out on me. And then you end up in this ping pong. It's this like devolving cycle of one person is negative, the other one gets more pissed off, and the other one gets really pissed off, and you're escalating this devolving argument, if you can escalate and devolve at the same time there. So it's this downward spiral that goes nowhere fast. So here's a relationship reality. Your beloved needs your love the most when they deserve it the least. And that just was such an important reframe for me, so that if Raj, instead of me being righteous, like, I don't deserve this, I didn't do anything to his day, he shouldn't be taking this out on me. You know, that is not going to bring us intimacy. I can be right or I can be close, but not both. And just having compassion. If he's having a tough time, instead of going, oh, that jerk, he's having a tough time, you know, you want to get present, like, oh, my guy is having a tough time. What can I do to support him? Now, obviously, you don't want this to be a regular pattern. And if it is, then there's other approaches to take. That would be probably after the argument. But you want to be bringing some compassion to your relationship early and often.
Okay, so just some added notes about this tip. It really is a game worth playing. We say a game because you just want to bring some levity to these moments that are tough, not to dismiss the, you know, the severity or the charge beneath these things, because often these are very deep wounds for us when we get triggered and activated. So to deal with it in a triggered and activated mode doesn't actually work, if you've probably noticed. And so we were talking about this a little bit earlier, that you just want to take on a more air of play, and how can we bring some levity to this thing, and love, right? So saying, do you need some loving when your partner is sort of at you for something? It's not always easy, right? It's very simple. Do you need some loving? But it might take everything that you have to actually say that.
You need some loving.
And you know, as this point says here, that having a wonderful relationship is so worth it that you want to move yourself beyond that resistance to using these tools in the moment. And these are new tools, new habits. You know, in our work, we talk about solutions that don't really satisfy or don't work. And we call them quote unquote solutions because they're old things that we've used in the past, and we want to migrate to these new things.
Okay, so lightening up can help. Just don't want to skip over that one. You know, use some humor. In fact, you know, when Raj sometimes will say to me, do you need some loving? I'll realize, yeah. Yes, I need lots and lots and lots of loving.
And instead of her being like, screw you, she gets her lightness on and says that, and it just diffuses the whole thing.
I like that, honey. Get your lightness on. I'm writing that one down. Get your lightness on. I love that. Okay, so also, Get your lightness on. Remembering the golden rule and the child inside. So the golden rule is, of course, do unto others. Treat someone like you would want to be treated. If you're having a really bad, tough day, how would you want your beloved to treat you? Step into that and have some compassion and generosity with them. And remember that little child inside, if they're having a tough time, you know, maybe it's the transition, maybe they're scared, you know, maybe they're just tired and they have some physical needs. But remember, there's you know, we're all a bunch of adults, we're a bunch of people pretending to be adults, but fundamentally underneath, we're all a bunch of 4-year-olds inside. Now, it's just a matter of different degrees of do we let that out or not, but it's helpful to know that that's what our emotions and our egos are. They're very young and very delicate. So you want to have that compassion and then also become Teflon. You want to not be defensive, you know, hold out the trash can. They're giving you their emotional vomit. Instead of going, oh my God, you're vomiting, it's gross, oh my God. You want to go, oh honey, I'm so sorry you're sick. And hold the trash can for them. Put your Teflon suit on so it's not going to stick to you, and you can just be present and be there for them. And then finally, meet projection with compassion and levity. You might go, oh, you're just projecting on me. Well, that's probably true. We're all projecting on each other. You know, we've got something that's going on for us, and then we put it on the other person. We're projecting that on them. But, you know, do that with, when you are met with that, do, you know, meet it with some compassion and some of that levity, because you're going to have your chance too when you're having a tough time and you're laying into your partner, and the gift and the trust that you build and the acceptance that you build if you're giving someone the experience of I love and accept you unconditionally, just how you are and just how you aren't, and I'm going to help you through this difficult time. In fact, Raj and I, we even have a mantra that Sasha, I learned from your sister, this Annie, with the soothing mantra, and ours is when Raj comes to me and he says, if I'm freaking out, and he'll say, Gabby, this is a dark moment, but it's only a moment, and we'll get through it together. Mm-hmm. And I just melt. Mm-hmm. Like he just takes that away. It's just so great. So you can do something when someone's stressed and being aggro. You really can do something.
Okay, so just a little bit more about this tip, and then we're going to tell you about our action option, which we love. Is this, do you need some loving? It's shorthand, right? So these are the things that are underneath when you say this, but when you're in the heat of an argument, you're not going to say all this stuff, right? I can see that you're having a tough time. It feels like some of that general displeasure is getting directed towards me, and that doesn't feel so great.
Yeah, we don't say that. Your general displeasure is coming at me. You know? No, we're not thinking that, or certainly not saying it.
And I know that you don't mean to hurt me. I see that you're under-resourced and might be able to use some unconditional love and support to get through it. Or, oh wait, does that sound good in any way? Any request you might have that I could help to make it better in some way?
Now, when someone's being nasty to you, though, this may not be the easiest thing to say. So you want to just go to the shorthand of, do you need some loving? And say it as lovingly as you can.
Yeah. Okay, great.
All right, so finally, to wrap it up, because we always like to, with every tip we give you, to give you an action option. So there's something specific to do. Ready, Raj? Dun, 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 and it may be the Mission Impossible theme, but it is not impossible.
It is the mission possible.
But it is your choice. Do you want to accept it or not? So take a look at these actions. Step 1, just notice in a moment of tension or stress if that's being taken out on you by your beloved. So first you got to be aware of what's going on. You can't be a fish in water.
Okay, the second step is to notice what your triggered or defensive reaction might say, and then don't say that. That's a very ninja skill right there. You could like zip it to yourself. Zip it, self-zip it.
It's not helpful, not gonna help.
And it just wants to come out, but don't let it.
All right, so in step 3, you want to soften. This is a key point. Actually soften. Feel the compassion in your body. Look at your beloved and lovingly ask them, do you need some loving?
And then the 4th step is listen to the response and any requests, and then do everything in your power to at least do the one thing that they requested.
Yeah, obviously if they, you know, want you to walk off a bridge or something like that, you know, you're not going to do that. But usually with a rational partner, if you build this habit of doing this for each other, it's just a different dynamic on how to handle it when your partner is taking their stress out on you. You feel justified, you feel this is unfair, and this is a great way of just shifting from being a victim into being a hero.
One time, you always get embarrassed when I share this, but
it's never good when he starts a story that way.
when I said this, she said, let's go shopping. And Gabby doesn't like to shop like for shopping's sake, but she just wanted to go downtown.
Oh yeah, he said, he's like, what can I do? Is there anything I can do? What do you need? I said, retail therapy.
So we went downtown and we actually
Buy
bought
me a
these
present.
monster hats that we put on when we were fighting.
Yes, that is what we got. We got a couple of monster hats to wear next time we were fighting. All right, so that is the tip for today and the action option. And Scott and Sasha, we are looking forward to all of your tips. But what do you do first, in regards to that tip, when someone's taking it out on you, what is it that you do to unhook from that temptation to just lash out and tell them not to take it out on you?
Sure. Do you want to go first or me too?
I'll go. So I am, when Scott gets like cranky because he's like stressed or overworked, and he has like a sort of biting response or something, usually I respond with like a playful roar. So he'll say something and I'll go rawr to his face. And then he realizes like because whatever he said, though he thinks it's English, is really just a roar. And so I just roar back. And then it'll kind of lighten, and then I'll go, my version of do you need some loving is, oh, do you need a cuddle? And then he'll either say yes or no. Sometimes he actually doesn't need a cuddle. Sometimes he wants alone time. But I don't let him get away. I go, okay, that's great. So I'll totally give you alone time. I get that you're cranky. How about 5 minutes from now? Can we schedule a cuddle then? And he'll be like, no, I need 10 minutes. I'm like, okay, I'll come back in 10 minutes for a cuddle. And then I'll like walk off. And then in 10 minutes, like he's like he said yes, he just wants to like stew in it a little bit longer, which I give him permission to do. But knowing that there's a cuddle happening at some point, whether he likes it or not.
That's great. You're not like forcing the moment. You're not forcing the moment, but you're letting him know that you're there for him.
Yeah.
And using the time. I'll often say with Raj when there's a bit of challenge, and he's like, I just need some space for a minute. I'm like, okay, how many do you need?
Totally.
5? Are we talking 50? What is it? Awesome. Scott, what about you? Anything that you see in that dynamic?
Yeah. When Sasha's rari as well, is kind of how I'll describe it. That's a term that we use quite often. Usually I'll one of the things that I'll do is sit in the upset with her, but to like a comical degree. So she might be upset about something, and if say like, oh, I can't believe you did this thing. And I might sit in that upset with her and be like, I know, how could I have absolutely done that thing?
Like he exaggerates it, so he gets more angry than I'm actually angry about the thing.
Exactly, right? where the idea is for me to actually get angrier than she does about it in a playful way. And it does a lot of good things to just, dissolve her anger. It works really, really well.
It's almost like there's a certain amount of energy for anger in the space. And if he takes it all up, I don't, like it's already, the space is used up with angry from him. So there's like nothing left. I'm like, oh, it got handled. He got angry for me.
He out-angried me.
Yeah, he out-angered me.
I'll see your anger and I'll raise you in anger.
That's right.
But again, the distinction there is that you did it with a sense of play. You're not really getting more angry. You're kind of turning up the volume of the, young emotional expression that's present in the moment and going, yeah, just to make it more obvious, not to actually make it more intense.
That's right.
Totally.
Awesome. Great. Thank you so much for adding to that tip. Now I want to turn it over to you guys. Obviously we're still in a dialogue like two couples at a dinner party. But I know you've got, some great tips here. Raj, why don't you pop them all up so that they can see them?
Sure.
And jump around wherever feels appropriate. Yeah. So we'll pull up that screen. I love the first one. It's free. It's always with you.
It's funny when we were thinking of these. I'm like, I have a very different set of what I need as it starts than what Scott needs as it starts.
Totally.
But they work in collaboration with each other.
Yeah, absolutely.
You wanna go?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, well, the first thing that I find, and this really helps me manage my triggers. is to just, take some time out and breathe. It can literally be in the middle of the conversation when I feel things starting to heat up, where I'll just say, like, listen, like, let me just pause, even if it's just for a minute. And I'll close my eyes and focus all my attention on how I'm breathing. And the first aspect that's important is to notice how I'm breathing before I start to try and control my breathing. Because
have you noticed a pattern of your breathing? Like if you're stressed, I noticed
Absolutely.
a long time ago that when tension is coming at me, I tend to exhale all the way out as far as I can and not inhale. So when I catch myself holding my breath, it's usually that I've pushed all the air out, as if I don't want any of this. If I breathe in, I'm going to be inhaling the upset. What do you notice in your breathing?
Yeah, for me, I notice that I breathe really shallow. So it's short, quick breaths. When I'm triggered in that regard, I notice for myself, I'll breathe like almost really quickly. And so, just noticing that for myself, being aware of that, and then, okay, good. I've clued in that when I notice my breath that way, that's a good indication for me that I'm triggered. And so just taking some time, slowing down my breath, okay, and essentially, finding that midpoint for me where I can listen to what Sasha's got to say. I can kind of come back into the conversation. It's like a little timeout for me to reset.
And it also takes you out of like the sort of, conflict is about to come, fight or flight type of energy, to a more like calm parasympathetic state of like, the world's not on fire, everything's okay. I can actually listen.
Yeah, it does really very much help me regulate my nervous system. Totally.
Yeah.
Right. It also brings you into this present moment if you use it that way too, right? Most fear, upset is either past-based or future-based.
Yeah.
In addition to everything that you said, if you take a few more breaths and just focus on the quality of the breath and get present now, it can help alleviate some of that charge.
Yeah, absolutely. And it kind of, 1 and 2 kind of work in tandem for me. So I'll move to the next point here, because it also helps me take myself out of the equation of whatever, we're talking about, because, anytime, someone's triggered by another person, my belief is that it usually doesn't have anything to do with that person. Chances are what's happened is, it's an old wound or an old hurt that's being reenacted in the present. And so, when I'm regulated and resourced, I can understand that if Sasha's upset about something, it doesn't really have anything to do with me. So I can kind of take myself out of the equation. It gives me more space, more resource, more love that I can send her way to hold space for her feelings. Okay. So understanding that, when we're in conflict, this doesn't have anything to do with me, helps me not take what she's saying personally, even if she's convinced that it's got something to do with me.
And I'm usually very convinced that it has a lot to do with him.
Yeah, and just for our listeners, it doesn't have anything to do with me. A slight nuance on that is that you trigger a past memory. So in that, it has something to do with you, but it's reminding them of an upset from the past.
Yes.
Not necessarily that this particular thing was that upsetting. So
sure,
it has something to do with you, but not. The upset isn't about you. It's that you triggered something from the past. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, Raj, can you take us off the screen there, the slide deck, the screen share? I want to actually be able to show something on the camera here, because this is just going back for a moment, Scott, to your breathing. I found someone had posted this on Facebook, and I found this breathing app. And Sarah, I went ahead and sent this to you in Slack, so you can put that link in the.
Oh, I like it.
Yeah. So let's see if you can see this. Let me hold it up here. So if you watch, the circle gets big as it says inhale.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And then the circle gets smaller as it says exhale.
Nice.
Oh, nice.
So
That's great.
I have this bookmarked on my phone. So whenever I'm experiencing any stress, because you always have your phone with you, and when someone says take a deep breath, you're like, okay, great, I took a deep breath. But if all you do, it is on the main screen. As soon as I open my phone, I can see this screen so that I can pull this up and start just breathing. And it's a 4 count in and a pause at the top and a 4 count out. And so often, even if someone's upset, I'll be like, look at my phone. Just look at my phone. All you have to do, though, is use the tool. You just have to use the tool.
Yep, absolutely.
Awesome. Okay, so go ahead. So breathe, don't take things personally, and speak for feelings. What do you mean by speak for feelings?
Yeah, so what I mean by that is, when after I've listened to what Sasha's got to say, the pull I find is usually to kind of want to justify something or explain away why what I said or what I did was completely appropriate in the scenario. And what I found actually works is just speak about my feelings and not really talk about anything else. So, I might just say something like, I feel sad right now. And she might ask, well, why do you feel sad? And so when I speak about my feelings, what it tends to do is elicit curiosity in her, because she then wants to know why I'm feeling what I'm feeling. And so that's what I really mean when I say, speak from feelings. Tell my partner what I feel in that moment. And
that's great. It's like the communication practice of nonviolent communication by Marshall Rosenberg. And he says, identify what the feeling is. And if you're having a positive feeling, it's based on a need that is being met. And if you're having a negative feeling, it's based on a need not being met. So if you expand your vocabulary about feelings and about needs, and it's much easier to articulate what's going on for yourself and to even look for, okay, well, what's going on with my partner, even if they aren't aware of it. Oh, they're acting, angry, but really they're afraid. They don't feel secure. It can be really helpful to trace the feelings and then trace the needs under the feelings. So thanks for bringing that up. That's a great one.
Yeah. One other thing just to throw in there, I love these topics, and thank you for letting us add different things that we've seen about them too, is that when you say I feel, you're fully owning your experience. You're not putting it on the other person.
The challenge, though, is when someone says, I feel like you were an asshole. I was actually working with a couple yesterday and asking them and said, well, how do you feel? Because I was trying to uncover what's the need underneath the feeling. It's like, I feel like he shouldn't have done that. I feel like, I'm like, that's not a feeling. Even there was one that I feel slighted. And I'm like, that's close. But slighted isn't quite, it's almost getting into a feeling, but you want to actually get to the feeling. When it came down to is that she was feeling angry and discouraged. Because what I did is I actually took a list of feeling words and just started reading through them to her. And she's like, yes, I feel that, which is a great example. Raj will do that often. If he's upset, he'll look at the list of feelings that we keep on the refrigerator so he can actually articulate, this is what I'm feeling right now.
Yeah, I'll bring up that feeling list in just a second.
Yeah, well, one other thing that I wanted to say about it as well, just on the whole topics of feeling, one of the reasons why I say, just state what you're feeling, or in this case, what I'm feeling in arguments, is because anything after the fact, if I make a statement about what I'm feeling after the fact, so like, I'm feeling sad because you said this, whatever, that usually just perpetuates the story that's going on between us. And speaking just the feeling doesn't perpetuate the story. It kind of ends that story right there.
Nice.
Yeah, beautiful. Beautiful. And Sasha, how about the three here we have for you? Ask permission, name the emotion, and explain. Explain yourself. You have some explain
yourself. So my first one is not breathing, it's asking permission. Because I'm much more comfortable with conflict in my life and in a relationship compared to Scott. So I have no problem being in conflict or having a complaint at any point in time. But I realize that for Scott, it is very intrusive if he's got things on the go. And so for me, in order for me to have the maximum time for my complaint or upset to be heard, and also to honor and respect his time, is I will ask for permission. So it'll sound like something like, Scott, I want to talk to you about something that's really important to me. Do you have some time to speak right now? And he'll usually be able to say yes. He's really good at being able to honor the time that he needs. He's like, no, I'm in the middle of writing an article, or I've got a call in 50 minutes I have to prepare for. We can talk about it after. So I first ask permission, and then if he says yes, then I have the conversation. And one of the reasons why I like asking permission is, one, it makes me first just realize the house isn't on fire. No one's going to die. So if I have a conversation now or in 2 hours, it's fine. And it also gives him a chance to be ready and not like sort of like bombarding him with like all this emotion coming at him like this giant like cloud, which has been historically how I did it. And so that doesn't work so well. So this works. And also the other reason why I like asking permission is, if I ask permission, it's sort of like an unconscious way where he gives me allowance. I'm asking permission. Usually when I say it, he knows it's because it's to complain or have something that's an upset. Him saying yes, he's ready to talk, also gives me permission to be honest and open and free in how I want to speak about it. So it's a permission for both of us. Right. And that he's ready to hold whatever I got coming. The other thing I do next is, if he says, yes, I'm ready to, I have space to talk, I'll be like, great. And then I name the emotion. So right off the bat, I don't go, well, yesterday when you came home and like the dishes and and he's kind of like, he has no idea where it's going. I go directly to what is the core issue. And it'll start with, I feel very frustrated and angry right now. So that he has some context or frame for how to categorize what I'm saying, so that it's not.
Where's my reference points? What are we dealing with here? What's going on?
Because otherwise I go off talking for 30 minutes and then he'd be like, okay, so what's the issue?
What are you talking
and then
about?
I'm like, what do you mean? What am I talking about? I just told you. When I've actually not said anything.
That just happened last night. So this went on and on and on and on for a long while. And I said, do you see why it might be confusing for him what you're asking?
And so I sometimes have to remember, like, I think of Scott kind of being like, and this is like a robot, it's got to be very specific words, because just because I'm speaking about something doesn't make it clear. So I'd be very clear. I'm feeling very frustrated. I'm feeling very angry right now at you. And then I go into explain. But the explaining is not to justify why I have that emotion. It's to clarify why I have that emotion. So I'm very frustrated and angry because yesterday, we made an agreement that, you'd be able to be here this evening, and you ended up working longer than was promised. And so I was left blah, blah, blah. But it's to have him have some understanding as to why I have the feeling. It's not coming out of the blue without any sort of like reasoning, that I've thought it through, and that he can also understand the behavior, not the human, but the behavior that happened that had me have this certain reaction. And so by me clarifying, because me telling him I'm angry, that's great, but he has no idea what happened, what behavior pattern maybe didn't work out so well. And then while I'm clarifying, he can explain, oh, well, remember when you said you wanted to make sure I got this handled before dinner? I thought you meant that was okay for me to work later than expected. And I'm like, oh, I didn't realize that's what you were working on. That took 2 hours, and that's why you were late for dinner. Okay, so there's just an opportunity for us to get the brass tacks details of what the conflict is based on. So we can actually look at, well, where did the breakdown in communication or understanding or love actually happen? And then just one other thing I want to say in regards to as it starts, because I'm very like, if I'm angry, I have no problem bringing it to the table. I'm where there's like fight, flight, or freeze. I'm a fight. Scott's more a flight and freeze energy. And so one of the things we started taking on is that a lot of times when I'd bring a conflict to him, he would end up thinking that's like, oh, well, since we're in the conflict space, now he's bringing up his 6 conflicts. that have nothing to do with what I'm talking about, because now we're in like the conflict kingdom. And I'm like, no, you need to schedule your own appointment for those conflicts. I'm doing my appointment now. You need a separate appointment. And what we realize is he doesn't give himself permission to bring up conflict. So when I bring it up, it's like the automatic, let me smuggle some of his own. So one thing we
so it's upset time. Okay, all right.
Yeah,
you're bringing
it's like,
it. I haven't
you're bringing it.
Anything
Exactly.
So I'm going to bring mine too.
Exactly. And so one of the things
is that the party we're having. Okay.
Totally. So one of the things we took on is every week to every 2 weeks, we have a conflict conversation. And the whole point of the conversation is for me to go to him and ask him, what are you angry about? What are you upset about? What do you have complaints about? And it's a non-judgment, but it's a way for him to say it out loud so it doesn't keep getting smuggled in the other times when I'm bringing it up. So that it's not necessarily his forte to bring it up. So I provide an opportunity, or we've created an opportunity where it's like, okay, we're not in conflict, but we're still having a pseudo conflict party. Is there anything that you want to say that's been bottled up or building so that we can talk about it now in a neutral space instead of it being something that escalates, an issue later?
Awesome. That's amazing. Love it. Love it. One thing I just wanted to remind any viewers that if they do want to join the Hangout live here, refresh your browser window and click that Join the Hangout button. That'll throw you into the Hangout with us, where you can interact with us, or you can throw questions or comments into the chat window. Also, just one thing that I wanted to show, it relates to what both of you were saying. If we could pin the screen on the slide deck here, that a lot of what you're talking about is modeled in the nonviolent communication model. So listeners might want to investigate that. Let's see, are we showing that screen? Okay, so it's basically observation of the thing that's not working. You know how you were saying you want to get clear about what we're talking about, right? And then this feeling thing, right? I feel, and then because the need for is not met, and then a request. And so one of the things that you're also referring to is speaking from feelings. So there's this whole list of feelings words when your feelings are met, and then when they're not met. And if we simply took on the practice of developing our vocabulary around feelings so that we could communicate that, and then also attach that to needs that may or may not be being met.
Now, I just want to point something out looking at this screen here. So there are 7 core human needs here, and the core human need is at top in the bold, connection, physical well-being, meaning, honesty, play. But notice how many words there are to describe connection. There are more words to describe connection than for any of the other needs combined. So it's really important that when in doubt, you're paying attention to the connection in your relationship, because it's one of the strongest human needs that we have.
It's great.
Okay, lovely, lovely. Love all of the things that you're saying, and I love your, Sasha, how you're, providing space for Scott to be able to do the thing that maybe not be his forte, and that you've created structures around that. And we really encourage couples to actually do that. All of the tips and tools that we've created, and it seems also that Scott and Sasha have created, they come in the moment. They're tools born out of necessity.
Exactly. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, never do we sit down and say, let's create some relationship tools. No, it's like the shit hits the fan and we're like, oh, what do we do?
And it really, there's a commitment there that, hey, how can we make this better? And
we're like, well, that didn't work. All right.
So one of the things that we encourage you to do out there in coupledom is to work on your own tools and make them your own. Okay, love it. So let's.
Anything, Sasha? Is there anything we left out there in terms of with those 3 before we move on?
Well, the one thing is, as it starts, is just never forget you love the other person. One of the things we have written in our vows is that I promise. One of our vows is I promise to battle the dragons of upset, even when the dragon looks like you.
Yep.
And so to take on the frame that whenever we're in a fight, it's this dragon called misunderstanding that's trying to tear us apart. So we gotta together fight that dragon. Sometimes the dragon looks like has our face on it, but that would be the premise underneath the whole thing, is that nothing's gonna tear us apart, even my anger or your upset.
That's right.
I wrote that down here. I promise to battle the dragons of upset, Even when the dragon is you.
Yeah.
That's great.
That's
Love
awesome.
it. Love it.
That's awesome.
Okay, well, if you want to learn more about what Scott and Sasha have to offer, or you want to get in touch with them, you can look them up at these places.
And Sarah, if you'd go ahead and highlight those and put those in the comments as well, so that people can click a link rather than having to write those down. So you have a couple on Facebook there and their direct websites as well. And Scott and Sasha, anything else you want to say about what you've got coming up, or point anyone towards to find a resource or something that you'd like to share on your websites?
Yeah, if you go to mensrelationshipcoaching.com, one of the things that's like right smack dab there is my free ebook called The 5 Keys to More Passion. Any of the men that are listening out there today, it's some of my best stuff. I highly recommend that you check that out. It's a great tool to help improve the quality of your relationship. Or if you're out there looking to get into a relationship, just some good tools and ideas about how to get into that relationship.
Awesome, great, thank you.
And for me, if there's any ladies out there who are, the sort of biggest thing I've got coming up is a sort of New Year creation course for ladies who are tired of having those resolutions that just don't quite fit or get them jazzed for the new year. That's something I'm going to be creating for January, so they can contact me on my website to get information on that, so that women can be out there creating a year that is worthy of who they are and a match for who they know themselves to be. So
that's so great, and I love the space that you create. It's not like from the should, but from this deeply inspired, connected to your sense of self and your purpose in the world. What a great way to start the year. And for those of you that are new to Relationship Fun and Games, if you'd like to find out more, you can see our website here with relationshipfunandgames.com. And if you're looking for more on the actual show, you want to come next week and join us for How to Keep the Sex Dirty as It Starts is our topic next week with Susan and Tim Bratton. So if you're looking at, the most common issue we hear, the complaint around sex is it's becoming stale, predictable, and boring. If you want to keep it fresh, fun, and flirty, if you are eager for some arousal, yes, I love my alliterations, then join us. If you want some of those top tips for timing, temptation, and teasing, then join Susan and Tim as we're going to talk about how to avoid aversion and invite arousal.
Yeah, if we were ever to mark one of our episodes as XXX, this would be the one.
Oh yes, we interviewed them in season 1 as well, and it was definitely a hot one. And I love this here. This was a quote from them before: "A little forethought can lead to a fabulous sex life." So for those of you who are new, we have a free gift for you: the Relationship Reset Kit, which includes a 4-part mini email course that'll get sent to you. And it also includes our free guidebook of how to keep the fights clean and the sex dirty. And of course, you can access our weekly shows here with Fights Clean, Sex Dirty TV. And you can find all of that at relationshipfunandgames.com/get-free-gifts-main. And again, that will be copied and put into the comments for you right now. And we have a couple of other offerings for you. You might be interested in our ebook, the more extensive version of that, with dozens of our top tips on keeping the fights clean and the sex dirty. And then finally, starting November 8th, we are going to have a 3-week course on the 3 communication skills to kill conflict and create connection. We're going to have a couple of free webinars on that as well on November 3rd and November 5th. So you check out our website, relationshipfunandgames.com, and go to Fights Clean, Sex Dirty TV, and we'll go ahead and send you all of that information so that you can get connected, so that before the holidays, you're not having the communication that's going cutthroat, but you're having communication that actually is going to really create connection and draw you together.
Yeah, communication is one of the main things that if you master in a relationship, you have great success for having an awesome, or what do we call it, epic relationship.
Awesome to epic relationship.
Yeah.
Yep, that's where we want to be operating. Always working on it. It's never perfect, right? But good to great and awesome to epic. Don't wait until you're digging yourself out of a hole. And if you are in the hole, then it's okay. We're here to help as well, whether it be Raj and myself, or Scott and Sasha, or your friends, or a book, but go out there, do something. You're here tonight because you care about having a playful, peaceful, passionate relationship. And if there's any way any of us can support you, we'd be delighted and honored. So thanks for joining us tonight. And Scott and Sasha, thank you for joining us tonight.
Thanks
it's
for
been a
having
delight
us.
to have you.
Thanks.
Yeah, thank you too. So great to see you, and what a wonderful time we had in Toronto with the both of you.
Yeah, it's
We look
great.
forward to seeing you soon again.
Absolutely.
Here.
Yes. Yes, and everyone join us next week for Susan and Tim Bratton, and we'll learn how to keep the sex dirty as it starts. Take care. Have a good night. Good week.
Good night, everybody.
Bye.